Our story begins in 1840, when a Captain Rice Davis Powell returned and decided to build an early Victorian country house alongside a river in the upper reaches of the Swansea Valley. He was the son of Dr. William Powell, where they had farmed the land at nearby Penarchy for many generations. Captain Powell was called to serve with the army in India. His maternal grandfather had been a wealthy surgeon with the East India Company, and his father had once practiced in London before returning to his birthplace and acquiring the land which was called Bryn Melling. By 1843 the manor was built and the family moved in. The manor would become known as Craigernowes. Captain Powell settled to the life of a country gentleman, becoming a county magistrate and a high sheriff of Brecknock. Although both he and his father married well, misfortune began to fall upon the family when cholera took his younger son in 1851. He suffered the loss of his wife and his daughter before he died in 1862. 2 years later, the eldest son was killed in a hunting accident on the Isle of Wight. Sarah, the eldest daughter, had married a Captain Alloway, and the couple remained at the castle after the death of her brother, until tragedy struck once more when Captain Alloway died a few years later. His widow moved to Tenby shortly before the property was sold in 1875 to 1876. It is believed that the Dutch family, Overbeek, of Calcutta and Cape Town, were connected by blood, and it was thought that the hint of their curse overshadowed the Powell family. The estate had been entered into Chancery and was finally bought by Morgan of Abercrave for £6,000. Mr. Morgan and his family settled at the castle, where his son, also named Morgan, joined him soon afterwards. Both families lived together happily for several years. As the decade grew toward its close, the current owners decided to leave, and a remarkable chapter in the history of the manor was about to unfold. In 1878, the castle and its settings captivated the leading opera star of that day, who felt she had found the home of her dreams amid the calm isolation of this beautiful valley. Its name alone strikes a romantic note, and in rough translation means Rock of the Night. This small estate in the mountains of Wales appealed to Madame Adelina Juana Maria Patti, who brought the castle and surrounding parkland for £3,500. The prima donna had reached the soaring heights of a spectacular career and was to spend the rest of her life at Craigernowes, leaving to sing in the premier opera house of Europe and elsewhere, captivating the world with her flawless soprano voice. The castle soon reflected the life of Patti and the glittering years to follow, when leading international figures including Prince Henry of Battenberg and the Crown Prince of Sweden came to stay. Although unconfirmed, it is said that Edward VII visited Craigernowes, when still the Prince of Wales. One story relates to a time when his train was delayed, and the party arrived late at night. The servants awoke to the sound of unknown visitors, and Madame Patti shooed them back to bed before receiving her guests personally. On the following day, the staff saw the prince and realized why their lady was not abed on the previous night. For 25 years she sang for Queen Victoria by private invitation and would surely have known many members of the royal family. Many honors were bestowed upon the diva, and thus Alexander II awarded her the Russian Order of Merit in 1870. Other sovereigns of state, including Franz Joseph of Austria and Emperor Maximilian of Mexico, showed their appreciation in a similar manner. Madame Patti was born in Madrid on the 19th of February 1843, of a Sicilian father and an Italian mother, both of whom were opera singers. She was the youngest of 6 children, and her parents were relatively poor. Realizing her potential, they launched their daughter into an early musical career, and at the age of 8 she was singing in the concert halls of New York. Adelina soon rose to international fame and performed at Covent Gardens in 1861. The doors of high society were opened to her, and in 1868 she married the Marquis de Cour, equerry to Napoleon III of France, at a Roman Catholic church in London. It was not a happy marriage, and in 1885 the diva secured a divorce after settling half her current fortune upon her ex-husband. The agreed figure was said to be £64,000, a considerable amount in those days. she recovered financially and became the highest paid performer ever known. Her rise from relative poverty to world renown indicated a remarkable talent underwritten by great strength of character. This great star was already deeply attached to Ernest Niccolini, a French tenor, with whom she had often performed Juliet to his Romeo. Signor Niccolini was a dark, handsome man of indifferent health who became fond of hunting or fishing for trout along the river near to the castle. Eventually the couple were married by the Spanish consul at Swansea on the 9th of February 1886, and the Reverend Glanley blessed their marriage at a church nearby on the following day. These happy years were shared with the man she loved, and Adelina returned to her castle, pouring care and money into massive alterations that would cost over £100,000, adding the north and south wings, clock tower, conservatory and a magnificent winter garden. She was now commanding over £1,000 for each appearance, and a tour of America in 1889 brought over £100,000 in fees and other commissions. Continuing her brilliant career, the diva travelled the world from her remote Welsh castle. The railway company provided a locomotive to pull her beautifully appointed private carriage, and she was taken to wherever she chose. Madame Patti was kind to her staff and generous to the local communities, giving many charitable concerts for hospitals at Swansea, Neath and Brecon. She often raised over £700 at a single performance. Known as the Diva, she cared for her staff and continued to pay those who were ill, sending the doctor to them and their families. Adelina usually arranged a hamper of food for the household and would often take it herself. Those who served her long and faithfully were given a pension upon retirement, and those with no alternative accommodation were given a room at the castle for the rest of their days. The alterations to Craigernow's continued. The theatre at the mansion was a remarkable addition and could hold 150 people. It was designed as a private auditorium where an international queen of song could enthrall with her remarkable voice, to all those who came to listen. The opening ceremony took place on the 12th of July 1891, when the list of guests included the Spanish ambassador and Baron Julius Reuter, founder of the Foreign News Agency. Sir Henry Irving was to have given the opening address but was unable to attend, and a leading actor, William Terrace, deputized for him. This unfortunate man was assassinated by a madman outside the Adelphi Theatre in London, some 6 years later. Stars of the opera world came to the opening banquet and the ceremony that followed. Signor Arditi led the 20-piece orchestra that accompanied the prima donna and Niccolini in the first of many performances held during the week of the festival. Music and song echoed across the valley over years to follow.